the importance of insurance is a fundamental issue about resilience in society. If you don't have certainty about being able to recover some of the money from disasters and from events, then actually you can't take risk. And we need society to take risk, we need businesses to take risk. We want people to make sure that they can rebuild their houses and their homes, because that's what creates resilience in society. And so sharing that risk, which is the fundamental basis of insurance, is a vital component to stability in society. Well, the understanding of risk is about the understanding of uncertainty to some degree. What climate change does, of course, is it gives us some variables that are really very much unknown. So one of the challenges that we have to face is when we have used 100, 200, or maybe even more years of meteorological data, for example, which have been fairly good representations of the risk we face in society. Today, that is no longer true. Climate change is making those 100 years of data much less valuable, if not in some cases completely useless. One of those challenges that comes with that actually is the fact that we don't completely know what's going to happen in the future either. And we're at that cusp and that pivotal position in our understanding of climate and the changing climate, of we're not entirely sure what the future holds. We're also fairly sure that we can't rely on the past. And that puts us in a difficult position. But it's a position that we have to actually do something about. We can't sit here and just hope something's going to get better. And that's why the modelling of this is becoming really pivotal and really important. And it's also why we need to bring in scientists more than ever and make sure that the work they're doing about climate change becomes relevant for the man and woman in the street and for businesses who need to understand risk.
We see globally that there's an increase of hazards, events, catastrophic events, which are driven by climate. We see that simply because 70% of the Earth's surface is water, we have increased evapotranspiration, so the hydrological cycle intensified. We see more heavy precipitation events, and this of course impacts on the societies where they are, but also on business and on insurance. And one of the main motivations why we wanted to have this project is that we see insurance not only as a sector which is hit by climate change, but which is also an actor and is also maybe part of a solution when it comes, for example, to adaptation to climate change.
The great thing about the H2020 project is that it brings together the insurance sector, the business sector, policymakers and scientists and academics very directly into the same conversation, which is historically quite rare. So traditionally, I would say that in the insurance and finance sector, although it draws on science from the academic sector, it's usually through an intermediate and the pathway, rather than having a direct connection between the scientists and the decision makers. So this bringing these parties much closer together increases knowledge on both sides, and it increases understanding on both sides, and it also speeds up how quickly you can get the latest science through into the risk modelling and the risk understanding, and therefore into the real world decisions. So you just speed up that whole transfer by having them come together under the umbrella of the H2020 framework. So it's really, it's phenomenally beneficial, I think.
So the objective initially from what H2020 were trying to do was to try and see if we could pull innovation from the science base into society. So that was our initial goal. And what we thought we were going to try and do is pick a number of different areas that we could try and prove that we were able to do that. So the setup of the project is fairly straightforward. We have a series of demonstrators. They cover some important, interesting areas like flood, forestry, agriculture, health and typhoon. And then around that, we have two platforms that are a way of disseminating that information. So there's Oasis Loss Modeling Framework, which is the model container. So that's the translation function for all the models that we're producing. And then there's Oasis Hub, which is the data disseminator. So those are the two ways of getting that information into society. And then we have a steering group and we have a management team that sits around that to make sure it works properly.
So one of the important things in the insurance sector is that there's a lot of information which is what they call proprietary, but then also there's an opaqueness, there's a lack of transparency. So we strongly believe that there should be open and transparent information flow to advance the field. So by sharing information, we basically create a level playing field where people can see data and see methods in an open and transparent field. And we believe this is essential for further innovation in the field. Because actually what the openness and freeness allows is it allows multiple actors to access the data. There is no barrier. So by making it free and open, everybody can have a look, everybody can see what we've done. They can then, if they're a business, they can then make their own decisions. But this way we can create a more competitive environment because many actors can see the same information. They can then build their own models as they wish. And of course they can create their own intellectual property based on it. But by promoting, if you like, a baseline of open and free information, that creates innovation.
This project is unique because it is end-user driven from the start. The stakeholders were on board, and this feedback we get from the insurance sector, for example, really streamlines our work, and also the standards we get from, for example, from the loss modeling framework really streamline our work, structure our work, and link then in the end what we produce, all the knowledge we produce, to something useful for others. And this is not only the insurance sector, it really goes beyond, because we think what is in the end good enough for the insurance sector, because they have really a demand on the quality of the output, is of course then useful also for others.
So we got involved in the innovation stream of the AWHA 2020, looking at how we can take our products from one technical readiness level to sort of more of a marketable readiness level. And we now have sort of 7 products that basically are pretty much ready for, for the market to use, and some have already been used.
So who will benefit most? I mean, the deliverable is for the insurers, first of all, and the insurers who've not really put climate impact analytics into their realistic disaster scenarios will have those now in the models they're getting. And then I think ultimately the public sector, the insurer of last resort is the state, should benefit from a better know-how of, let's say, climate change impact.